on the Ultimate Seattle Sports Show. Huge trade in the NBA to talk about. Milwaukee sends Giannis Antetokounmpo to Miami. As part of that trade, Bobby Portis goes to the Heat. In return, the Bucks get 4 players, including Tyler Hero. They also get Miami's first-round pick this year. NBA draft is today, plus 2 more first-round picks and a second-rounder in the future. Now, that monster trade got us thinking about the top 5 trades in Seattle sports history with that kind of magnitude. And for that, we bring in our producer, Joel, to help us rank the ultimate 5 as we look for that category. And we kept Bill here because I know there's going to be a couple of topics here involving the Mariners. So, Chris, you want to unleash the man here and tell him to get going?
I love Joel to trade for a new flannel. That's what I love.
Man.
Ouch. Shots fired. Come on, Chris. Come on. It's only Tuesday. Come on.
That's true, Joel. My apologies. You look good. It's Sonic Screen. I'm okay
exactly.
with it.
Yeah, Sonic Skate here.
That's right.
My friends over at Sonic Skate would probably love this. This shirt is plenty old. It's like, I don't know, 15, 20 years. I don't know.
What's more impressive is it still fits you, man. For a big fella, the other thing is you're looking good in that jersey.
I'll just say this, Paul. I think the best trade, and that will segue Joel to the worst trades. Best trade, July 21st, 1988. That is when the New York Yankees sent a young man by the name of Jay Buhner to the Seattle Mariners, and we gave up Ken Phelps in that trade. So that's the best trade, Joel. Now the floor is yours for the worst.
Yeah, that turned out pretty good, didn't it, Chris?
Yeah.
All right.
We like Buhner.
Well, the most heartbreaking trades I could think of, I'll start with number 5 here. When Sean Kemp got traded from Seattle to the Cavs, I'm sure there was a lot of fans at Key Arena that just broke their heart. Kemp, and the only reason he got traded really was because of the contract issue with Jim McIlvaine. Kemp didn't really have an issue with McIlvaine himself. It's just he felt like he should have got more money, and he should have. But the Sonics only got Vin Baker back in return. It was a 3-team deal for 5 players back in 1970 or 97. I'm sorry. It was a tough one.
Yeah, it was the end of an era, man.
Yeah.
It was the end of an era, with the GP to Kemp era, which was so much fun. It made me, particularly, an NBA fan. When I came here in '93 and those mid '90s with the George Karl teams and the Kemp Payton. Man, I mean, that was a fun time to be a Sonics fan for sure.
Yeah, that was back in '95. I mean, you had the Mariners going big time there when beating the Yankees. You had the Sonics challenging for an NBA title. It was a great time to be in Seattle, like today. I mean, today's teams are doing really well as well.
He's on my Mount Rushmore of Seattle athletes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was a dark day for me back in 1997 for sure. I have it higher up on my list, Joel, but move on.
Number 4.
Well, it's got to be Gary Payton going to the Bucks back in 2003. He had a little bit of an issue with then owner Howard Schultz, and they just didn't see eye to eye. So who's going to go, the owner or GP? So GP ended up going to the Bucks. They got Ray Allen, Kevin Ollie, and Flip Murray back in return. Desmond Mason also completed the trade with Gary Payton going to Milwaukee. But yeah, it was a tough one because GP had been part of the fabric of Seattle's sports society for a long time, and I remember when he got drafted by the Sonics and just loved him because he just talked. He yapped and yelled at people. It was awesome.
Oh, yeah. GP for sure. But, you got to give Ray Allen his props, too.
Yep.
I mean, heck of a player. And, I mean, come on. His career was outstanding. So no one wanted to see GP go. But if you had to get someone in return, Ray Allen was probably a good man to get back. All right, Bill, I promise we're going to work you in here. Here's number 3 for Joel.
Number 3, we got Ichiro going to the Yankees back in 2012. And I know the Mariners were just doing right by Ichiro, but all they got back was DJ Mitchell and Danny Farquhar and some cash. Like, come on. That's insane.
Just listening to you say that makes me laugh. I mean, that's comical.
Farquhar had a moment in time there where I can't remember if it was his curveball or if it was a slider. Some people believed it was like one of the best pitches in the majors at the time, but it was a short time frame.
Like 2 games. 2 games.
Bill, I mean, do you know anything about Farquhar?
Bill?
Yeah, he had some moments.
Yeah.
I mean, he played in the big leagues, and Danny had a couple of nice runs. I think he was involved in one of the bigger moments that defined the garbage can banging. I think he was part of that, if I'm not mistaken. was on the mound for some of that.
Were you surprised when they announced that trade to the Yankees?
I mean, it was coming. You just knew that Ichiro's days were really numbered here, that he needed to go play in a contender situation where he could be a complementary player instead of a centerpiece star. This team was in transition. It was time to move him on. Yeah, it didn't look like they got much in return. They got some salary relief, but Ichiro's iconic. He'll be never forgotten here, an incredible player. Not to change the subject, but I don't know how in the world we're missing the Randy Johnson trade. But,
Well, I know.
I mean, I think
that's
gonna be
for the end, Bill.
discussed.
That's when we take Joel.
Sorry.
And he gets a hard hat. We just start dropping sledgehammers on him.
Bill, the year was 1998.
Yeah, we'll get into how bad this 5 is as soon as he's done with it. So,
Not the Elbrels.
all right, go to number 2, man.
Number 2, Russell Wilson going to Denver. I know he was a little polarizing, especially at the end of his career, but Russell Wilson, anytime you looked over at Lumen Field, there was a ton of number 3s in the audience, in fans there. But they did get Charles Cross, Boya Mafe, Witherspoon, and Derek Hall in that trade.
Well,
were the 2 number 1s and the 2 number 2 picks that they received from Denver.
No question, Joel. John Schneider got the better end of that deal, but I think you're right. Russell Wilson was just such a polarizing figure, helped the Seahawks to their first Super Bowl ever. So when he finally was sent out of Seattle, I remember that day. We were reporting.
Yeah.
I think we were on every show, leading every show, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11. We were the lead story. But yeah, it was a sad day, but for John Schneider's sake, ended up being a very nice trade.
I think even back in 2013 when they won the Super Bowl, he was arguably one of the biggest sports stars ever in Seattle sports. Like, he was such a fan favorite. Everyone loved Russell Wilson in that moment of time.
All right, listen, man, you two might be forgetting the fact that the year before and even half a year before that, Wilson kept hinting that he wanted out, and they finally said, "You're out." And I remember Pete Carroll was a draft approach that he said, "We have no intent of trading Russell Wilson. That's not our intent." Of course, it's not their intent. That was his catchphrase. We didn't say we weren't going to trade him. We just didn't have any plans to trade him. And then all of a sudden, those plans changed. So listen, I thought that, and I know you guys agree with me. It was a huge trade for the Seahawks and their future, and it had to be done. But Wilson had some tremendous years here. No argument there. All right, number 1.
Number 1, it's got to be Ken Griffey Jr. Back in 90, I think it was, what year was that?
2000 he got traded.
Yeah. But back in 98, they started exploring an extension for Junior. They were trying to figure out who they're going to keep or how they're going to time out the contract extensions between him and Alex Rodriguez. There's an article on MLB.com if anyone wants to read the story and see more of the history. I just don't want to go into too far in depth. But back in 99, reportedly that they had an 8-year extension worth $140 million for Junior, but he wanted to wait a little bit of time to figure out his family situation. When that time expired, he decided he wanted to be traded and go to the Reds. So all they got back was Mike Cameron, Brett Tomko, Antonio Perez, Jake Meyer. So basically, you got Cameron and 3 jabronis for one of the greatest players ever in the history of Seattle sports.
They were professional athletes.
Yes,
Joel.
I know.
Listen, hey, at least they got a couple of good. That Ichiro trade still cracks me up.
Wow.
Farquhar and some cash?
Yeah.
Come on. All right, Bill.
Dude, the only one that you're going to know is, are you ever going to hear of Antonio Perez or Jake Meyer ever again?
Well,
No.
The only time you hear his name is when we talk about this trade.
Hey, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to let Bill take the stage here. You're missing my number 2, which I think is probably one of Bill's number 1. I think Jewel Lloyd, possible. That was a shocker. I think that was a shocker. Adam Jones for Eric Bedard. I didn't like that. It's not my top 5. But
Yeah.
Bill, yesterday on this show, we focused on the big cat, but I think he's missing a big name, and that being the big unit.
Oh, yeah. So Randy Johnson, I thought that was the trade that I think really defined the club's inability to go to the World Series.
Yeah.
And Randy was unhappy. He had a bad back. He was starting to, act out a little bit. He wasn't pitching well. But it was such a great moment for them to say, let's let our arms around a guy that's a little immature, that has a lot of moods, and realize what a weapon he is. Because he's the reason that this club didn't go to the World Series. You could have subtracted one of those elite middle of the lineup guys before you subtract Randy. A huge decision. You've got a guy that's married to someone who's from here. There's a lot of reasons for him to stay here, and look what he did after he left. I mean, he took it out on the rest of the National League and put up some incredible numbers. Randy Johnson, you did get Garcia, you did get Guillen, but you lost your chance to go to the World Series with all those elite stars.
With that mind, I mean, that could be number one right there, right, Paul?
I disagree completely with Bill Kruger on this.
Okay.
I've said this in the past. That trade was awesome. They weren't going to be able to keep Randy for the rest. He went down to Houston. He pitched for a couple of months. It was rent a pitcher. The Astros blew it. They took a chance that they could re-sign him. It didn't work out, and they gave us 3 quality guys in return: Freddie Garcia, Guillen, and John, who the other pitcher? Halama, thank you.
Yeah.
You said it, Bill. A little surly there toward his end of his Seattle tenure. It was time for Randy to go, and the Mariners got the most of what they could get for him because they weren't going to re-sign him for that huge contract. So,
and when you look back at it, I mean, like, what could have been with that team? You had Randy Johnson and Ken Griffey Jr. If you could have kept those guys for a few more years longer, who knows what would happen?
Absolutely. But back then, you guys know, as Mariners fans, they weren't going to write that check. They weren't going to keep paying the big dollars to keep all those guys together. So I want to ask Bill one quick question. I know we got to let him go, but the Griffey trade, did that when they announced that, did that shock you that he was going to leave and go back?
I just couldn't believe that he was so synonymous with the Seattle Mariners. He was the Mariners. It's the house that Griffey really built, which is the new ballpark, and I think that's where it all started. They went over there and hit. And he realized this place was going to be tough to hit home runs in. So he already had a negative thought about the ballpark to start with. They should have thought a little bit harder about maybe trying to build it like the Kingdome, shorter and right with a higher wall, play to Griffey's strengths. Why not do that? Load up on left-hand pitching, left-hand hitting like the Yankees have done for 18 years. Yeah, I think that Griff made a choice. He wanted to be closer to his family. He was a little bit upset with the ballpark. He was, I think, a little upset that maybe Senior wasn't being respected a little bit more. And then, sometimes the grass isn't always greener. And that's something that Kenny's going to have to accept because he took less money, deferred money. He had a bigger deal to stay with the Mariners. The Mariners did their part to give him more money. But for some reason, it broke up. And it's unfortunate because he should have been an all-time Mariner.
But like a good relationship, he came back.
He did.
Yeah.
Aren't they still paying him? I mean, his deferred money, he has kind of like a Bonilla contract.
Yeah.
I mean, Bobby's done. I think the Mets are done paying Bobby finally, but I think the Reds are, up until last year, were still paying Griffey.
I think
in deferred money.
I think till 2030, but I'll double check that in the break.
Yeah, do that because I think they're still paying him for several years. That's awesome. All right, Bill, we always appreciate it. Thank you, Joel. We appreciate you coming on, Bill, as always.
Thank you for having me.
We'll just continue to talk baseball with Bill Kruger as we roll through the summer here. So we'll see you next time, Bill. Thank you. When we come back, we'll talk World Cup soccer, a Christian Roldan injury update, also the Storm set a franchise record. And that's next.